After God are unscripted conversations about our search to better connect with reality as we experience it and to find meaningful ways to live in an often chaotic world.
We are looking for the pervasive bonds of relationship and wholeness that we call God.
In this sense, we are after God as a pursuit of the greater whole of all things.
We have also found that the ways God has been imagined and described in previous centuries, many times by men and women we admire for their thought and spirituality, set a trajectory which begs for further engagement and exploration in our time.
They urge us to go beyond their work, to build on it. In that tradition, we aspire through openness and curiosity to search for God after God.
After the descriptions of previous eras no longer speak as powerfully in our world today, we are attempting to sit again at the feet of Jesus, as many have before,
And hear what he says about the one he calls Father. We welcome you to listen in and perhaps join in. Fresh out of college, I'm at this church, right? And I have prayer time in the morning, right? And that would be the peak of my day, right? And because I think I was approaching that and I had expectations on it that were not, because then I would go throughout the day and not see the person in front of me as this is a prayer moment. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
So I have these peak of experiences, praying at home alone in the closet, which it's a good thing, right? But
Right.
I didn't realize that prepared me for the prayer for the rest of the day. And as I engage with people throughout my day, like I'm continuing the prayer. The prayer doesn't stop. Maybe this is some type of letting go so that I could dance into the day.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, because what you're saying makes me think about, we struggle so much with Paul's statement, "Pray without ceasing,"
Yeah.
and, that can't be the kind of my thoughts are turned to wording a prayer
Uh-huh.
of conscious interaction with
With my
God.
eyes closed.
Right,
So I can't do this when I'm driving.
right. So it's like you're saying there are times of a kind of very intentional, focused awareness where we are having a conscious, the way AA puts it is 12-step groups is a conscious contact with God.
Mm,
Like I'm really intentional about turning my attention to what they, would talk about your greater power,
yeah.
that which exceeds you, upon which you are dependent,
Yeah.
and without which you cannot do anything,
Uh-huh.
right? That's a great definition.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The mystery of that reality.
That's right.
So, but how do you pray without ceasing? Well, you've got these moments where, yeah, you pray, kind of in a very intentional way. But yeah, it's supposed to bring about a kind of constant
Mm-hmm.
awareness that then is the undergirding reality of everything you're
Yep.
doing. And so for Paul, the prayer posture never ceases
Uh-huh.
while you do other things.
Yep.
Right? Because now I'm going to see my neighbor as I'm going to remember the other person is perhaps, you know, as the angel appear. Maybe this
Yeah.
is the presence of God. Maybe
Uh-huh.
this other person is presenting, a need or an
Uh-huh.
opportunity, or they're, you know, so every other interaction, every other event needs to occur within this kind of undergirding posture of
Yeah.
awareness.
Uh-huh.
Like I am just, I need to be, if prayer is awareness of the eternal, of the real, um, and by the practice, I'm trying to, you know, latch onto and not be forgetful about that reality,
Mm-hmm.
then how I live is always in that prayerfulness.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously, I'm not wording prayers. I'm not thinking
Uh-huh.
that, but it becomes, I think that's what Paul's talking about. It just becomes the way of my being.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the mode of how I go about
Mm.
life
Mm.
is this posture of awareness, humility,
Yeah.
dependence, um, and communion
Mm-hmm.
with others, fellowship, love. Um, yeah, something more like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the practice, yeah. So what we're saying is, yeah, the practices are very distinct, definitive ways we're trying to live into this kind of life of God,
Mm-hmm.
which I think was what Jesus meant when he talked about eternal life.
Yep.
He wasn't talking about later when your body ceases to function, you will be whisked away, eternal life somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's talking about the experience of the divine life that God gives
Yeah.
right now, right
Yes.
here,
Uh-huh.
so that you're not living kind of a miserable,
Mm.
empty life
Mhm.
of pain, suffering, without wholeness.
Uh-huh.
Um, because there's another definition of spirituality, which is about integrating oneself.
Mhm.
The picture that we're kind of all divided
Yeah.
and at odds with
Uh-huh.
ourselves, and spirituality is, um, the wholeness, like,
Yeah.
we a way of pulling all the pieces together
Yeah.
and being in harmony,
Uh-huh.
even internally.
Yes.
I'm not, like, conflicted.
Yeah.
There's a kind of singularity
Uh-huh.
that's guiding my life, so there's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. These things are part of my life because I'm no longer fractured. I'm no longer pulled
Uh-huh.
this here and there. There's a kind of harmony and peace,
Uh-huh.
and then that can then be shared with others. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm. As you were saying, I was thinking about just particular practices, because prayer, we were taught about prayer in the church.
yeah,
So I thought about, just moving beyond just and we kinda the way that we're defining this, we're opening it up
right.
because technically it could be anything. It could be anything. Anything that is grounding me, and not just that, anything that's opening me back up, right? It could be a word that I'm focused on as I'm talking to people to, okay, this is a person that I'm talking to. It's
Right.
not, this is a mystical thing that's happening, right? So it's just so it's words, I think for you it might be music. I
Yeah.
think you're a
Yeah.
big music guy.
Yeah. I like to have a background of music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole again, how can Paul be talking about praying without ceasing
Mhm.
unless everything can somehow be prayer?
Yeah.
Which sometimes I think about prayer as offering something up to God. It's an offering. So everything I do can be offered to the divine,
Mhm.
to the reality that binds everything together.
Yeah.
And it's kind of put out that way from myself. So everything can be prayer. Yeah, every conversation can be
Yeah.
prayer. Our sleep can be prayer.
Mm.
You know, um, if if I'm living with this, constant awareness
Mhm.
of how I have this place within the what is real, and that which is real is ultimately God.
Mm.
And I kind of, like you said, rest in that place.
Uh-huh.
I feel held and safe and embraced in that place. So what am I doing that is not
Mm.
in relationship with that um, reality?
Yeah.
In other words, a prayer.
Mhm.
Every action's a prayer. Um, yeah, everything we do can become,
Yeah.
you know, something offered up to God
Yeah.
uh, as praise or you know or petition in the
Uh-huh.
sense of a hope or a wish.
Yeah.
Um, it's all it's
Wow.
all potentially
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah. And is it simply our posture towards it? You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking about something that, as you thought about, like, what could prayer not be, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, is there even something that prayer is not? Is it just simply my posture, right? Am I saying that this is this is not, or is it what I'm rejecting,
Hmm.
right? Any thoughts on that? What could prayer not be?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, well, even yeah, because my mind goes, yeah, but what about the things that are like, the behaviors or attitudes that I know are out of sync with God,
Yeah.
that are not reflective of the nature of God
Yeah.
and the person of Christ, quote unquote, my sins.
Yeah.
But don't we also kind of offer those up to God,
Ah.
in confession? I mean, we don't
Yeah.
offer them up as good things, but
Yeah.
we even take to God and say,
Mm.
"Ah, here's where I totally messed up."
Man.
And so we do even turn those, or they're the subject of
Yeah.
a prayer.
Uh-huh.
It is it's part of the reality, and if we turn it back to God in that sense, um, there's a healing. I mean, that's what forgiveness is about. That's what mercy. That what I hear in return is, you're still my beloved child.
Mm.
even though, yeah, you were just mean or
Wow.
or you were critical.
Yeah.
But see, but what do I do with that? I can't just stuff it. I can't just I I offer it to God.
Mhm.
So in prayer, I
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I I was inappropriate. I said some
Mm.
mean things. I was jealous."
Yeah.
Well, I it becomes a prayer,
Uh-huh.
and it comes back to me, I think, as healing, a word of forgiveness and of change and
Mhm.
transformation. So, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that because then you think, well, those are the bad things. Those are the
Yeah.
worst parts of myself. But are they not to be offered up in
Mm.
prayer as well? Is there
Yeah.
anything that's not to be prayer?
Mm.
Um, it's like the whole of our lives, all the parts, good, bad, indifferent, are just to be offered up to
Mm.
God.
Yeah.
And if we understand this as an opening ourselves up for something to be given,
Uh-huh.
then that which I do not offer cannot be changed or I cannot receive.
Yeah.
So I just need to offer it all.
Yeah.
I
Offer
just
it all.
need to be
Mhm.
open with God and say, yeah,
Mm.
you know, these are the things I did wrong. Or at least, I feel these are things I know I did wrong. I did
Mm.
things wrong that I didn't know.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Um, but if I offer that up to God, now that's become an opportunity for change. And that's back to the spiritual disciplines are for us
Yeah.
to change us. So, yeah, maybe everything can be offered up.
Mm.
Um, maybe there isn't anything that can't be,
Yeah.
as it were, turned into prayer.
Well, that makes prayer exciting
Yeah. Yeah.
because, if it's more than just this what I was given in a particular time in my life, then man, this opens it up.
Yeah. The whole of our lives, um, as prayer and is coming back to us,
Mm.
um, in prayer,
Mhm.
through prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the idea of praying is not what I do, it's what I become.
Mm. Mhm.
I need to become this living prayer.
Yeah.
It's kinda like Paul says in Romans 12, he talks about, offer yourselves as living
That's right, yeah.
sacrifices. Well, see, I like that language because that's something offered up to God.
Uh-huh.
And even in the Jewish sacrifices, they would sprinkle incense and they saw that as kind of an aroma
Uh-huh.
going up to God, and it was often used as kind of an analogy for prayers. The prayers
Uh-huh.
of the people are like the incense.
Yeah.
So there's this thing of there's this ancient and it's not just Jewish, I mean, all ancient peoples made offerings. Everyone
Mm.
did.
Yeah.
You can't dig up some ancient culture and say these people had no offerings to
Uh-huh.
their gods. Everyone
Yeah.
tried to relate to the divine. So in some ways, yeah, our prayers are offerings to God.
Mm.
And Paul says, well, give yourself as an offering.
Uh-huh.
Make yourself this living sacrifice. So we become a prayer.
Mm.
That's the idea. And for me to realize everything I do, just having a meal, um, you know, doing as it were my daily chores,
Uh-huh.
whatever those are,
Yeah.
it's all offered up to God and it's all pleasing to God. Um, it's just me living a life, um, and that can be good, all of it.
Mhm.
And then the parts that I realized were out of tune, were contrary, then I just offer those up
Yeah.
too, and I say,
Mhm. Yeah.
I know this was where I lost my temper,
Uh-huh.
and I offer that.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it opens up a possibility. It makes it so much more, um, not a episodic thing. There's like moments of, and then lots of periods without.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Mm.
But then those focus moments where I really make a conscious, contact. Maybe it's through a centering prayer or like a breath prayer where I
Yeah.
just sit, or a worded prayer, or a prayer where I read some psalms or prayers of others, or
Uh-huh.
prayers of Saint so and so,
Yeah.
uh, or music, or
Uh-huh.
those might be more focused times, or someone who goes out into a natural setting because they feel a kind of closeness and a kind of
Yeah.
centeredness, and like, let me just go sit on my back porch and look at the
Uh-huh.
trees. So those are the focused prayer
Yeah.
times, but everything is taking on that character.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing. The focus times help all the times to somehow continue in that same vein, in that
Yeah.
same nature.
Yeah.
Um, But we're talking a lot about prayer and less about other disciplines.
What other disciplines come to mind?
I don't know. I mean, prayer is kind of obvious because I think
Yeah.
that's what everyone most likely first thinks of. We talked a little bit about worship,
Uh-huh.
this coming together, but in the terms of what we're saying, I mean, all worship is prayer. Is it not
Yeah.
offering up to God?
Yeah.
Is it not um, if I was saying, well, prayer is in some ways ultimately an awareness
Mm.
of myself, of my
Mhm.
neighbor, of God, of reality. Well, so is worship.
Yeah.
It's it's another form of trying to be aware,
Yeah.
like the analogy of darkness to light or asleep to awake.
Mhm.
It's like we're going through life with our eyes closed. We're really asleep, or we're blind.
Uh-huh.
And worship or prayer is to make me open my eyes
Yeah.
and see what is real.
Yeah. And
Um,
we might say spiritual practices and disciplines in general, like
yeah,
that is the aim. The
that's
aim is to get woken up again
right.
and be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what matters.
Well, and so, most world religions would talk about some sort of enlightenment,
Yeah.
coming to the light.
Yep.
Like it dawns on someone and they're
Uh-huh.
like, oh, now I
Yeah.
see. So everyone knows that. Buddhists will talk about that. Hindus will talk about anybody's going to talk about
Mm.
that we realize we kind of live at this kind of mundane level, maybe consumed with, as Jesus says, what am I going to eat? What am I going to
Uh-huh.
drink? What am I going to wear? He says
Yeah.
that's what the Gentiles, that's what the
Uh-huh.
nations think about.
Yeah.
He says, but don't think about that.
Mm.
Think about seek the reign of God, which
Mhm.
is kind of like open your eyes to
Yep.
how God is reigning.
Yeah.
You'll still find what you need to eat and drink. He's
Yeah.
not saying when he says, "Well, the Father will take care of those things," he
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean, well, magically those things will appear, but they will. I'll still work and I'll
Yeah.
still, do things to acquire those, and that too is a provision of God. But
Mm.
open my eyes up.
Mm.
Everyone seems to know that it's an
Yeah.
enlightening.
Yeah.
It's a awakening. So yeah, all the spiritual disciplines are to take us out of this mundane world we can live in, where our focus, our gaze is downward at all
Mhm.
these like necessary things of life, and we like never lift up our eyes and see, oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
the whole time I've been in this beautiful
Uh-huh.
situation and I was just looking down,
Yes.
you know.
That's what fasting does as well,
Right.
right?
Oh yeah.
Fasting.
Yeah.
Um,
Father John Bear, I like a lot of the things he says, and he was talking about fasting, and he said, fasting is not for your body, it's for your mind.
mhm.
And his illustration was he would tell his students, how many of you think you can't do anything until you've had your cup of coffee in the morning? He said, well, if you fast and, give up that cup of coffee for a while,
Uh-huh.
well, you're not changing your body.
Mm.
What you're doing is changing your mind,
Yeah.
because your mind thinks, I
Yeah.
cannot function till I get
Yep.
my cup of coffee.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you try it, you'll realize, well, that's not really true.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like fasting is to make us realize we are not locked in like we think we're
Yes.
locked in.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think I need this. Well,
Mhm.
what if I did without it? Just for a time, not
Yeah.
because it's bad,
Yeah.
but just to show myself
Yeah.
I, I'm not as tied as I think.
Yes. I love
Um,
that. I think our mind is constantly trying to be okay. And
yeah,
so it's attaching to all these things. This has to happen for me to be okay. And fasting shows us, hey, no, that's not true.
right.
That's not true.
Yeah. And and like we were saying with disciplines, you never know what will happen.
Yeah.
So someone who like says, they do kind of a media fast, which people talk about because we're so inundated, and they say, okay,
Mm.
for just a while, I'm just not going to look at screens. I'm not going to check
Uh-huh.
anything. Well, you don't know what's going to happen when you open that space up,
Mm.
often you discover something,
Yeah.
totally unexpected. Like,
Mhm.
wow. Um, and then maybe then when they go back, and because there's nothing wrong with what engaging with
Yeah.
news and media, but they go back in a different way.
Yep.
They've been changed,
Yeah.
right? They're like, I will consume it, but not let it consume me.
Yeah,
I will consume the media, but
yeah.
not let the media consume me.
Yes, and I might be more or less triggered as I'm as I'm
Right.
looking at this. I can see
Yeah.
more than this.
And I know I can live without,
Yeah,
where before it's like, if I can't check and, like I got to keep checking.
yeah,
What if you just don't?
yeah,
Does life end?
uh-huh,
It's like, well, and that's just an example,
yeah,
but that's where fasting, as a spiritual discipline, obviously isn't just about food.
mhm,
Um, but that's been a traditional way, again, in lots of different world religions, to do a fast. Everyone is recognized for, centuries, for millennia,
mm,
not just Christians,
yeah,
that there's a value here in saying, set something aside
yep,
and kind of focus, and see what happens.
uh-huh,
Native Americans did the same
mhm,
thing. I mean, they had their vision quest sort of
mm.
experiences.
So there has to be something there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
The human testimony seems to be humans have
Yeah,
found value, in cutting cutting down the noise or the distraction,
mhm,
because we can be so distracted,
mhm.
so consumed.
We're really big on reading too. Reading is something I guess could we consider that to be a spiritual practice? I'm reading some now and he talks about just being exposed to sacred writings, of course, and just reading in general. There's something that reading does.
Yeah, could I think that's reading, um, be because again, especially from a Christian tradition, a lot of people have this they've been taught, a spiritual discipline of reading scripture,
Hmm.
um, which again is good. I don't wanna say it's not good,
Yeah.
but sometimes it was about the quantity.
Yeah.
I've never done, read through the Bible in a single year.
Uh huh.
Like, it's just like, so what do I do when I get done? I did it.
Yeah. Uh huh. I get a steak dinner.
Yeah,
A church is gonna give you a steak dinner.
right, or I can say I've done it,
Yeah.
and s sometimes back when I was in college and stuff, they'd hold up people, "This man has read through the Bible every year for 30 years."
Yeah.
But, it's kinda like consuming the quantity is not the point.
Mm.
Um, what if, or I heard that Bernard of Clairvaux, preached for 18 years simply out of the Song of Solomon.
Mm.
I mean, he just never left the book.
Wow.
You know, and someone would say, "Well, that's what's up with that?" But again, the point of reading scripture or other writings that have a spiritual quality to them, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
Hmm.
Maybe we just sit with a single verse
Yeah.
and let it continue to, kind of bounce around in our
Yeah,
thoughts.
because more is gonna happen from just one reading. Like, I mean, you can
Right.
just read through it once, but the more you read it, the more it's gonna read you,
Right,
right? And
exactly.
there's a relationship that's happening between
Right.
you and whatever you're reading.
Well, and it's kinda like prayer, where, Jesus criticizes, the practices of well, the Gentiles.
Mhm.
They think they'll be heard for their
Yeah.
many words.
Uh-huh.
He's kinda like, "Let your words be few."
Yeah.
God already knows. It's like you don't have to do so when it comes to prayer, Jesus seems to be saying, it's not about how many words. Well, why then with the spiritual discipline of reading, would we think it's about how many
Yeah,
words?
exactly.
It's not about how many words, and maybe you do read a lot, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing wrong with reading through the Bible
Mm.
in a year if you wanna follow one of those programs, but there's something to remember, that's not the ultimate value. The
Yeah.
ultimate value, I like the way you said it, is when the text starts to read me.
Yeah.
When I see myself, I hear myself, I hear the words that are being spoken maybe coming out of my mouth,
Mm.
and I'm like, "Oh, yeah,"
Yeah.
'cause I'm reading a text about someone who's saying something that I recognize,
Yeah.
it's a story,
Uh-huh.
and they're or like someone saying to Jesus, "Well, I'll follow you, but not now."
Yeah.
And then I realize, "Is that come out of my is that
Yeah. Is that
me?"
me?
That
Yep.
starts sounding like
Uh-huh.
me a lot of times. I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus, but not right now."
Yeah.
Um
And if my goal is just to finish, I might miss that. I'm reading right past that
Right, I'm
because
reading
I
with
have
the
a goal.
yeah, I know I gotta get down to chapter 10
Yeah.
today, like, I gotta get there, and the value may be, and this is where, the The older practice in Latin was called Lectio Divina,
Uh-huh.
which literally means a sacred reading, a spiritual reading. And the idea was you read kind of slowly until something strikes you,
Mm,
and then you stop.
mm,
And right there, you start to consider
yeah.
because the assumption was this is the Spirit of God.
Mm,
The reason that just caught your attention, it might have been the Spirit of God.
yeah.
And so stop and think, why did this catch my attention?
Mm,
What is it? And it's more, and then it's almost analogous to prayer. It's like now I sit here and I kind of mull this, I turn it over in my
yeah.
thoughts. I'm trying to ask new questions. I'm trying to listen. What maybe or maybe in psychological terms, what in my subconscious
Mm,
notice that?
yeah.
Maybe not on my conscious thinking, but something subconsciously got me.
Mhm.
And what was that?
Mm,
Um, and so that idea of reading is you just read a little slowly with no goal of getting anywhere,
yeah.
and you stop when it seems like you need to stop. And there's where you pray.
Uh-huh.
It becomes prayer. It
Yeah.
becomes the prayer of your heart
Yeah.
offered up to God. What does this text say?
Mhm.
So that kind of seems to me, that's so consistent with what we were saying earlier about
Yeah.
spiritual disciplines. They're opening us up to be
Uh-huh.
transformed.
Exactly.
You know, it's awareness again. We're back to, is it not just awareness?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of a key thing
Uh-huh.
with all the disciplines?
Exactly.
Now it's awareness through reading,
Uh-huh.
um, and in some ways, reading becomes prayer.
That's right.
So yeah,
And a word I don't think we've used yet, but
but
it's very tied to this is meditation.
oh yeah,
Like meditation is there's significant overlap between what we're saying here. That is a practice. And I think Lectio Divina, that's part of it too. And like whatever's jumping out at you, that's what you spend some time kind of
right.
sitting in and
Right,
thinking
meditating.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another similar word, contemplating. You
Contemplating. Yes.
contemplate
Uh-huh.
it. Um, yeah, I mean, that's and again, that would even, apply to the prayer. Prayer is not so much about words from me,
Mm.
but sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just meditating.
Yeah.
It's just sitting, again, back to what I mentioned earlier, the be still and know that I am
Yeah.
God. It's
Uh-huh.
sitting with that awareness that,
Yeah.
okay, I am God,
Uh-huh.
God says.
Mhm.
What does that say? Well, it says,
Mm.
Greg, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're acting like you
Yep.
are, but you're not.
You're not holding this together, so
Yeah.
you don't have to keep acting like you are.
Right. And I don't need to be stressing like I need
Yeah.
to.
Yes.
Right. So all these thoughts start to, well, that's when I'm meditating on simply that idea, that thought,
Yeah.
that scripture. So yeah, I'm contemplating it.
Mm.
I'm being opened to it and by it
Mm.
to new awareness.
Mhm. So awareness seems to be where we're trying to land.
That's kind of where I am. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, we call it enlightenment or,
Mhm.
from darkness to light.
Yeah. Clarity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clarity. And to what reality is.
Mm.
Um, Spiritual people should not be kind of people who, um, are not deeply aware of life as life is.
Yes.
They should not be kind of like tuned out
Yeah, we're
or,
trying to avoid
yeah,
life reality.
right. Um, they should be eminently aware of how things really are
Yeah.
and don't, sugarcoat it.
Mhm.
Don't pretend it's something it's not.
Yeah.
It is,
Mhm.
you know, what it is.
Mhm.
Um, AA has the term accepting life on life's
Mhm.
terms. Um, and 12-step groups will say part of our problem is we've tried so hard to make life what we want it to be.
Yeah.
And you got to let go
That's
and
right.
accept life on life's terms.
That's right.
This is what the situation is, and
Mhm.
it may be unfair, it may be unjust,
Yeah.
but I might not be able to do anything about it.
Mm.
Well, I can fight what I cannot change,
Yeah.
or I can, as the Serenity Prayer says, accept the things that I
Yeah.
cannot change,
Yeah.
and the wisdom to know.
The
That's
difference.
such a
Yeah.
beautiful prayer.
Mm.
Change the things I know I can change.
Mhm.
Accept the things I can't, and give me the wisdom
To know the
to
difference.
know the difference, to be able to discern, is this something? Because if it's something I can do something about, I should.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I cannot, be inactive in the face of this is something I need to work on.
Mm.
But if I can't, then acceptance is key.
Mhm.
Because if I fight what I cannot change, I will be miserable,
Yeah.
right? And there's no peace or joy in that life fighting
Mm.
what you cannot change.
Yeah.
So,
And this is where spiritual disciplines and spiritual practice should lead us to
right,
peace, to joy.
right, right. Yeah, so it's not where everything is rosy and everything is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Uh-huh.
It's how do you live in a world that has lots of problems? Life presents you with great challenges.
Mhm.
There is suffering. No one avoids it. Um, it comes to us all. The spiritual life, and I think what, like you're saying, the disciplines do is prepare us for living life in an AA term on life's
Yeah.
terms. How do I navigate that and still have joy and
Mm.
peace, when life is not fair?
Yep, and a peace that goes beyond understanding, that
Right,
surpasses
exactly.
our that doesn't make sense, right? A
Right.
peace that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, the way Paul talks about it. Yeah, peace that passes understanding. Yeah, it gets, his point, and it's a good point. It's like in some ways it makes no sense how a person could be at peace given the nature of our world.
Yeah.
Are you just willfully ignorant of what's
Yeah,
happening?
or detached, yeah.
Are you just like distancing yourself?
Yeah,
Um, how can you be at peace? Why are you not outraged?
yeah. Mhm.
And maybe there's a kind of peace, um, that doesn't negate the fact that you see what's wrong,
Yeah,
and you even also, work to oppose
yeah,
what is wrong.
and you name it, and
Yeah, you name it,
yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, you can have this a peace that, yeah, is inexplicable. It's almost contradictory, or paradoxical. How
Mhm.
can you be at peace and also see deeply the suffering of the world?
Yeah,
And I would say it seems to me that Jesus embodies that somehow.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm after. That's why we're
Yeah,
after God,
that's
right?
right.
I wanna know how to do that.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, neither to to ignore and turn off,
Uh-huh.
but also not to be so consumed by it that it starts to take me
That's
over,
right.
and then I become a mirror of its own, all what's going on with in the world, the suffering, then,
Mm.
you know, is so disruptive to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a mystery.
yeah. Thanks for listening to this discussion. If you would like to continue this conversation with us, we'd invite you to share your thoughts in the comment section. We'd also invite you to share a question or topic you would like us to cover.
We would be happy to discuss any topic regarding life after God. And if you would be interested in being a guest on our podcast, we invite you to reach out via the email available in the video description or show notes.